Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I'm George. We're all George. Good morning. Welcome to another market open stream. Is the massive dumping over? Last night, yesterday, we received some horrible news. Today, we received some more news. Is it good, bad? Let's digest. Overall, fear level is quite high. So let's take a look at everything that's happening today. So welcome, guys. Right now, Bitcoin is struggling to hold at $20,000. And I'll get back to Bitcoin a little bit. But you could see the U.S. market just 10 minutes ago, the futures market was green. Now it has turned red, and it looks like it wants to continue more in the red as we approach the market bell, which is about to ring in about a minute or so. So today, off to a bad start, and there's a couple reasons for that. And this is a continuation from yesterday. Number one is, you can see right here, SVB, one of the biggest banks in the United States, one that not a whole lot of people talk about, but one of the biggest banks out there is following Silvergate, deciding to close shop and trying to sell itself after it had a tremendous fall. Look, they were down 60% yesterday, and there's the market bell. 60%, and now they're down another 62%, and trading has halted because basically they're done. We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar bank with the market cap was still over $6 billion after a 66% fall, right? They have decided that they can't do it. They can't do it. No one's going to give them the money. No one's going to bail them out, right? So this is obviously causing a lot of fear, because apparently this bank works a little bit differently. They provide a lot of funding to smaller tech startups that normally can't get funding anywhere else, or loans. So this has a lot of people in Silicon Valley concerned, because they do serve a lot of Silicon Valley companies, right? And recently we've been hearing about a lot of layoffs in Silicon Valley. Does this mean a lot more layoffs are coming, right? So this is obviously adding to a lot of fear right now. I'm surprised, the Fed doesn't come in and bail them out. But, right now that's the situation. They're basically calling it quits. They're calling it quits. Now, the other thing that's happening this morning, which should not be a bad thing. I was trying to explain this to my wife last night because she doesn't quite understand yet. And I'm trying to explain this to her. And she's like, how does this make sense? I'm like, I told her last night, if tomorrow's payroll numbers come in hot, meaning that U.S. actually hires more people than expected, the market will probably turn red and go down. And she's like, how does that make sense? That doesn't make sense. That means more people are finding jobs. More people are working. Why is that a bad thing? I'm like, exactly. How does that make sense? It doesn't. This is a good thing. Okay, so estimates came out. It was like 225 million for estimate, and we blew past estimate, 311,000. This is a really good thing. Okay, people finding jobs, finding more jobs than expected. This is a good thing. But the markets tend to sell off with this good news because people are afraid of Powell and what he's going to do, right? Powell already said that due to the data, right, he may have to increase the next rate hike because it was anticipated to be 25 basis points. I think he had that locked in his head, but now he's thinking, well, that's not enough. I have to go to 50 basis points, right? So this is the crucial data he's looking for. Is the job market still hot? And the answer is yes. Very, very hot. Okay. Now, the next thing he's looking for is inflation, and that's coming out next week. Okay. CPI reading is coming out next week, and that will be absolutely huge. These two things combined will be the biggest data points he looks at before the week after that the FOMC comes out, and then he's going to announce what he's going to do, right? And not only that, this determines not just the next rate hike, but the ones afterwards. Originally, it was anticipated that we hit 5% for the fund rate, but now people are talking 5.5%, 6%, right? Maybe it goes even more. So this is the reason why, you know, this doesn't make sense. It shouldn't be this way, but somehow it is, and it sucks. It really sucks. I was looking at DXY. DXY did come down a little bit today. You can see a little bit drop after the jobs report, which is good, but overall, the DXY is very high, close to 105, and bond yields are extremely high, right? This is all due to uncertainty, fear, and doubt, okay? There's a lot of it right now. Fear over inflation, whether or not it can be tamed with a soft landing, fear about rate hikes, fear about bank closures and just closures in general, and people getting laid off, and the U.S. economy tumbling down into a deep recession, right? That's the macro stuff. That I haven't talked about the Bitcoin stuff, the crypto stuff, right? That's just macro stuff, and that is hard to overcome already, right? That's very hard to overcome. But, you know, it gets worse. Yesterday also, right, we got this. New York Attorney General not only sued KuCoin for unregistered sale of securities and commodities, but also goes ahead and deems that Ethereum is a security. Now, I'm not going to go more into this because I did a whole video last night about it. If you didn't watch it, rewatch it. I actually did 2 videos about it, right? But here's the thing. This is as damning as they come, right? Because if Ethereum is deemed a security, then this guy right here, Gary Gensler at number 1. Oh, you can't see my mouse cursor, but I was hovering around Gary Gensler. Because if Ethereum is deemed a security, then Gary has the ammunition to basically go after every company out there, right? Every single one. So it's not good. She has no right to do this. Other agencies do not recognize that. As of right now, the SEC still recognizes Ethereum as a commodity. So does the CFTC, right? So how can New York just come out and deem this by themselves? But nevertheless, it's still very scary, right? Very, very scary. So we have this also that's causing a whole lot of fear. And this is also causing a lot of fear. All the banking problems, the banking woes, right? Especially Silvergate, because Silvergate has what's called a SEN. And this is an exchange network that is powered by 1,000 institutional crypto participant and companies and projects that utilize this SEN to transfer or do fiat on-ramps, fiat off-ramps, right? And now they don't know where to go. They don't know where to go because there's not a whole lot of banks that does this, right? And the other bank, Signature Bank, that's the second biggest, right? They have limited transactions to over $100,000, which means the average Joe can't use ACH transfer. There are other companies and there are other banks that are involved with this, but they're much, much smaller. And with Silvergate closing down, it makes one wonder if these other guys are going to continue or will they even survive? So there's that. That's a lot of FUD too, right there. And JP Morgan is, of course, spreading more FUD. We know Jamie Dimon is no fan of crypto. Trying to spread a little bit more FUD over what has happened, right? And then you had huge liquidations last night and today. Over 320 million in liquidations. 320 million. And guess what? Mostly longs, okay? There are some shorts, though. Shorts got liquidated. Longs got liquidated. Basically, anyone that played with heavy leverage got liquidated. And who wins with liquidations? The exchanges. Remember that. Okay? So take a look. You have all these longs liquidated. Here's 100 million, 135 million. Here, that's like 300 million. But you can see there's still some shorts, too. Shorts, both sides loses. That's how it goes with liquidations. Both sides loses. Okay, no one's a winner except the exchanges because they collect the fees. Keep that in mind next time you play and next time you get wrecked. Just think about who wins, the exchanges, right? But that also isn't good. Adding to fear because it's dropping prices right now. Bitcoin still having trouble holding that 20,000 mark, which I think is very crucial, right? But a lot of what we saw yesterday was due to the heavy liquidations. Essentially, we had a long squeeze, and that's not what we want. We want short squeezes, not long squeezes, just like this point right here, 200 million liquidated long, right? That was a long squeeze. We don't need that. We need short squeezes, not long squeezes, right? And of course, when everything's going wrong, you have Mr. Know-It-All, Peter Schiff, saying, I told you so. Hurry, sell your Bitcoin and buy gold. Of course, Peter Schiff would add on right now, add on to the fear, the FUD that's out there, right? Because he's been shitting on Bitcoin for a decade, pardon my language. But you know what? This is how it is. This is how it is. When things are scary, when things are low, you know, the naysayers come out and everyone goes on attack, right? Because they think Bitcoin and crypto is an easy target, right? But here's the thing. Here's the thing. We have seen this before, right? Bitcoin has seen this story before, okay? Bitcoin has been attacked before. The entire industry has been attacked before, okay? Even though the last day or so, and today just started and it could get worse, even though it has been pretty bad, let's not forget how bad 2022 was, okay? And those of you guys that's been in the game longer than that knows how bad 2018 was. And those that were in the game even earlier knows how bad 2014 was. And it goes on and on and on and on, okay? Despite emotions being high and FUD levels being high and now fear index showing we're fearful, right? Not all is lost. Not all is lost. We have seen worse. And let's not forget that nothing fundamentally changed. Okay, that's the important thing. I think a lot of people, when they see the price drop, they think like, oh man, something has changed, right? Something bad has changed that's causing everything to go down. No, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it has nothing to do with Bitcoin. It has everything to do with all the FUD that's around or the macro conditions, right? But you know, when I talk about fundamentals, it's like stuff like this. Supply lasts active 2 to 3 years, still all-time high. And if I show a chart that's 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, right? They're all-time high. Addresses, all-time high, right? Number of Bitcoin wallet addresses holding 0.1 Bitcoin, 1 Bitcoin, 10 Bitcoin, 100 Bitcoin. They're all showing all-time highs, right? So fundamentally, nothing has changed for Bitcoin. And some argue that this is perfectly normal. This is actually according to plan. This has always been according to plan. So look at what happened in 2017. You know, when you zoom out, you don't recognize these patterns. But when you zoom in, you realize, well, it has happened before, right? That's why I just got done saying we have seen worse. We have seen pretty much everything. In 2017, it's the same thing. Bitcoin was recovering at the beginning of the year, right? Or actually, I shouldn't say beginning of the year. It was more like middle of the year. Bitcoin was making good traction. Went up to 4,000, and then it fell down to 3,500. Then it went up to 5,000, and it dropped to almost half. It went from 5,100 and dropped to 3,000. Okay, I'm looking at the right side here. Okay, it went down almost half, and at that point, people called it quits. The naysayers like Peter Schiff came out and said, "It's done, it's done." And had you sold at that point, you would be kicking yourself hard, because right after Bitcoin fell down to that point, it went up, rallied and rallied and rallied and rallied and went up to 20,000 straight from 2,900, right? So again, we have seen these times before. If you live through it, it's bad. But afterwards, you forget about it. I don't remember that happened in 2017. I lived through that, but I don't remember what happened, right? So if you look at what happened right now, it's pretty similar. Pretty similar. So some argue that, you know what, we're just following. We're just going according to plan. And here's another one that's comparing our situation right now with the COVID crash, and COVID crash was bad. I remember those days too. I know most of you guys remember those days, how the market crashed badly. Bitcoin fell below 4,000, right? The entire market cap of crypto fell to nearly 100 billion, okay? And not only that, the U.S. market fell hard. I remember Dow having a negative 3,000 day, okay? If you thought negative 500 was bad, imagine negative 3,000 per day, right? But what happened? We came back up and we formed a new high. We went all the way. You could argue we went all the way from 3,800 to 64,000. And that is why you don't leave. Because if you do, again, you'll be kicking yourself pretty hard, right? So we have seen times like this before, coming up from bottom, right? And according to this, we retest a trend line and then we go upward. So some argue this is perfectly normal, right? And I argue that, yeah, while things are low, you accumulate because Bitcoin is the way. Fundamentally, nothing has changed, okay? Bitcoin is still the way and will recover and will form a new high as we approach the next halving event. Nothing is going to deviate Bitcoin from that, okay? And even this, people are looking at whale activity. And guess what? Who's accumulating under $20,000? Of course, the whales. Of course, the big money, the smart money. The guys that want to really dominate the market and or make life-changing wealth and or attain financial freedom, however you want to call it, right? The people that are accumulating now, they're setting themselves up for greatness in the future, right? And that is exactly what the whales are doing. So stay strong, my friends. Continue to DCA. You know, it's scary right now, and it could get scarier as the day goes on. I didn't even refresh what it is. Now it's starting to turn deep in the red, right? It could get worse, but Bitcoin has not changed. And we'll continue to move forward and thrive. You just have to have patience and stay strong and continue to DCA. All right, let's do some Q&A. Meta exploring a new social network that can compete with Twitter. Do they really want to compete with Twitter? That's the thing. It seems like Meta, aka Facebook, is so desperate these days to try to play catch up with something else that's hot, right? You know, they try to dominate the metaverse, fail, try to get into stablecoin and crypto. Didn't work, fail. Now they're trying to compete with Twitter. Twitter has their own problems, but I mean, and then Instagram has problems competing with TikTok, although they may be saved because now there's talking about banning TikTok. I mean, but still, Meta is just all over the place. They just can't seem to win at anything anymore. I guess SVB Financial Group or SV Bank is not going to be opening up trading anymore. Tesla is still down to 168 now. Coinbase down 11% right off the bat. Ouch. Man, Coinbase had a good run up from bottom when it was like $30-something, went all the way up to 80. Now it's back down to 50. That's how fearful the environment is right now. All right, let me scroll up here. Fear and greed index. We went from greed last month to neutral last week to fear, and we're about to enter extreme fear if this continues forward. What's your worst case scenario for this dump? Worst case scenario, we go back to our previous low, 15, 16,000. I don't anticipate we will be dropping that much, but, you know, with more FUD that may be coming, like, I don't know, for example, SEC is going to slap Ethereum as a security following the New York Attorney General, something like that. You know, some more bad news. Can it drive us lower? Possibly. If Ethereum is deemed a security, does that encompass all L2s on a blockchain like Polygon? What does this mean for bag holders? Not really. Unless they all followed Ethereum and had an ICO and promoted themselves as an investment. And they have huge direction over development, I guess. These are the criteria I'm listing from the New York Attorney General. But that doesn't necessarily mean that everything is going to be deemed as security. But if Gary has his way, then everything will be. Was this bull run just a bull trap? No. No. People were coming back into the market, right? We were very, very low and oversold in December. And that's why we recovered. Because things were just really cheap. And also the macro conditions looked like they were improving, right? There's that too. Inflation was coming down. And arguably, it still is, okay? So even though it looks very, very, very bleak right now, we could still recover from this. I think next week's CPI could be a very telling story because today we got something really good. Again, it angers me to even talk about how great job numbers is seen as a bad thing for markets. It's just absolutely ridiculous to think that way, but that's a reality. But something that can save this and put us back on course is if next week CPI comes out and shows that inflation, again, is heading down in a big way, right? What caused the stop last month? Two things. Number one, payrolls came in too hot, again, which is stupid to think about. And number two is CPI showing inflation kind of stopped. It didn't go down anymore. Those two things really kind of stopped our recovery, right? And now we're kind of in this limbo land where the markets don't know if inflation is going to get worse and how Powell's going to react, right? So I think with the jobs report being hot again in February versus January, it's a little bit lower, but still hot, more to expectations. But the CPI reading will be crucial. So next week, we'll see how inflation is. And that could change things. If inflation goes down huge, let's say in February, inflation went down another 0.5%, right? Or even more so. That could definitely change Powell's mind once again and just stay with the 25 basis points. And I'd love to see that happen. So, could happen. All right, Coinbase up a little bit. Okay. Dow's recovering a little bit. Let's see what happens. I thought Ether already won its battle at SEC, and that's why Ripple wanted their yes, Carl. But that was with the previous chair. Jake Clayton, and he left. So Gary doesn't have the same sentiment. But again, he has not come out and flatly sued Ethereum for being a security either. He's hinting that, but he has not done that yet because I don't think he wants that battle. So I think he's smiling all the way to the bank right now because someone else is going to battle Ethereum instead of him. He has to worry about Ripple case, which he's probably going to lose. Jimmy, banks failing is nothing new. That is a failure of centralization, government greed. They can't manage banks. Why should we trust them with crypto? We need decentralized money. I don't think anyone disagrees with you there, other than the politicians and people that have funding or donations, I should say, from these banks. Fed Chair Powell, he controls the biggest bank on earth, right? And of course, the Fed has to help the other banks. So one hand scratches the other, I guess, so to speak, right? They're all going to look out for each other, but right now, no one's looking out for crypto. That's why I argue crypto companies need to look out for each other, right? Exchanges need to look out for each other, and same thing with all other crypto companies. And they all need to stand together and fight someone like the SEC, which no one wants to tackle right now, but they need to. And hopefully Ripple does win, Grayscale does win, and that will open up to the possibility that Gary is wrong about his stance on everything, right? Gloria, I appreciate it. Is there any chance Cardano could be considered security? There's a chance, but unlikely. Cardano did have ICO, but it was in Japan. Cardano started out being more like an Asian project. It was seen as the Ethereum of Japan, and then things changed, and then everything kind of moved over to the States. But they didn't have their ICO in the U.S. But some of the other arguments about if you look at the Howey test, arguments like, oh, the network needs to completely be done. Obviously, it's still a work in progress. Too much of direction is dictated by a few, right? Like Charles and team, maybe. I don't know. I don't think it's likely, but hey, if they wanted to make a case, they could. So many people are going to regret not buying at these levels in a year from now. 2023 is going to be a wonderful buying opportunity as we move sideways, New England Patriots. You know what? I don't disagree. And 2022 was a great buying opportunity too. Any years that follow like a peak for Bitcoin. So 2013 was peak for Bitcoin. 2017 was peak for Bitcoin. 2021 was peak for Bitcoin. Any of the years afterwards are prime buying opportunities, meaning 2014, 2015, prime, right? 2018, 2019, prime opportunity. Same thing, 2022 and 2023, right? I do think in 2023 we will recover, but still, it will be nothing compared to where Bitcoin will be in 2024 and 2025. Martin, we're not going to see Bitcoin at 9,000. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to 100% disagree with you there. Mike, cool it, man. I don't just throw wrenches at whoever. And welcome, Tom. Old Saucy, that's why the Ripple case is so important. I do think the Ripple case is very important. I've said that. As much as I like XRP, I like Ripple. I like their chances, and I really like to see them win. Right? I think it's going to be huge. It's not just huge for XRP, but for an entire industry. It will be the very first time a crypto project actually stood up to the SEC and won, right? And someone like Ripple can, because they have the resources to do so, right? I think SEC really picked the wrong target when they chose to attack Ripple. That's why all the other companies that the SEC have attacked recently are smaller ones, like Paxos, right? They'd rather go attack Paxos than Binance because they know they're not gonna win against Binance, but they'll win and they'll cause Paxos to cave, which they did, right? Same thing. They went after Kraken instead of Coinbase. Why? Because they attacked Coinbase. Coinbase has the resources to fight forever. Kraken does not, so Kraken folded, right? So, again, what I was saying before is we see banks kind of like helping each other, right? We need crypto companies to help each other too. So we need crypto companies and projects to stand together and fight the evildoers like Gary Gensler. Man, this is brutal. Overall market cap, we were at 1.02, 1.03 trillion. We fell down $90 billion within a matter of days because of all the FUD. I mean, there's a lot of it. There's no doubt about it. There's, with banks closing down, specifically Silvergate, which does affect a lot, to, New York Attorney General suing one of the bigger exchanges and calling Ethereum security, right? To macro stuff like jobs report coming in hot, and there's just a lot. There's just a lot out there, right? And I didn't even cover Biden today. Biden's new tax proposal is also targeting Bitcoin miners. 30% tax on mining companies. What's the deal with that? I mean, that's also. Let me see if I can find that. Yeah, I mean, we have this too. I didn't even bring this up today. I brought it up yesterday, but even Bitcoin's under attack. It's not just Ethereum and rest of crypto. Even Bitcoin's under attack. Is Coinbase wallet safe? Yes. Coinbase wallet is a self-custody wallet. You get recovery phrase, which gives you access to your private keys, and you can use that to restore anywhere, basically. It's a self-custody wallet, so it is safe, but it doesn't support too many coins, mostly just ERC20 stuff. So that's why I like something like Trust Wallet better, because they support pretty much all major chains. Braxton says, HBAR dApps hacked last night. Mainnet servers turned off, unable to move or sell HBAR. Can we expect a hard crash when the servers turn back on? That doesn't even make sense, man. Braxton, I don't know how many validators or nodes there are for Hedera, but I haven't heard anyone talk about that. So unless you're talking about specific DApp itself on Hedera, but as for Hedera going down, I didn't hear about that. I'll look into it, but that's in a decentralized network. It's just not a. It's not as easy as going to a server room and just turning everything off, right? That's just not how it works. But you can propose everyone to do a restart. Solana does that often, right? You can do that, but it's more complicated than that. People are saying Biden's button isn't going to pass. In my opinion, it's because of 40% capital gains tax. It messes with their money. And yes, that's a huge jump. Okay, if you want to increase capital gains from 30% or 25%, I don't know, it's 20% right now, right? If you want to go up to 25, okay, fine. You want to go up a little bit, right? But to go from 20 to 40 immediately, that's just way too much. That's just way too much, right? So I don't know. I think he just threw it in there just because he can. But again, this luckily, whatever he's proposing has to be approved by Congress. And luckily, most likely it's not going to be. Will the New York Attorney General KuCoin lawsuit have domino effect in other states? I think so. I said this yesterday. If you still trade, if you're in the U.S. and you're trading on KuCoin, you should probably get off. Okay. What's going to happen next is KuCoin is going to shut off service to New York, all of New York, pretty much immediately. So especially if you're in New York, get your crypto off of KuCoin. But long run, KuCoin will close down to all of the United States. They don't want any more trouble. I'm almost certain of that. So I don't know how imminent they will close their doors to U.S. residents, but probably pretty soon. So you probably still have time. And they're probably going to leave withdrawals open. They can't just like stop the withdrawals either, unless they go under, which I don't think they are, knock on wood. But it's better to be safe than sorry and remove from KuCoin at this point. Hajami says KuCoin doesn't allow U.S. users. It's in their policy, yet they allow U.S. users to log in and use it. I know that 100%. You don't even need a VPN to get in. That's the problem. New York Attorney General had one of her staff just go make an account and go in and start trading, and they were able to. That's the problem, because there was no safeguards against that. What do you do if you have locked stuff on KuCoin? You just probably create a ticket. They'll allow you to do it. Right now, okay, they're not locked. I'm just saying, in the future, they will stop people. Just kind of like Binance. When Binance stopped allowing U.S. residents to log in, right, they gave you a time to, like, withdraw, and that's it. And then they implemented KYC. So even if you did use a VPN, they would want you to do KYC, and if you can't, then you can't trade anyways, right? It's probably gonna be something like that. Eldo, appreciate it. Brock Armstrong says Hedera's not down, but you can't communicate with the network. Like I said, I didn't hear about it. I've been concentrating all about this and all the horrible macro stuff. I'll look at Hedera and give you guys an update tonight. Well, no, I can't because I'm not streaming tonight. But I'll give you guys an update tomorrow then. Cool Doctor's asking, I want to buy Telluride or Palisade, but I don't trust Kia, Hyundai reliability. Their newer cars are pretty reliable. Their old ones are not. Telluride and Palisade, I haven't heard much about reliability issues, but they are excellent SUVs. Well, the market, U.S. market is trying to come up a little bit. Bitcoin is trying to go back above 20,000. These are good things. So maybe we see a slight recovery today. I'm hoping so. DXY is still heading down, so that's great. We want to see DXY to continue to go down. And something like this should rally the market, not bring down the market. Should rally the market, right? And that's why it sucks right now that good economic data brings down the market. The only thing that's going to save this is CPI next week. Norman, appreciate it. What is a good starter car for the snow? Anything Subaru. Their symmetrical all-wheel drive system is really good. Like, really good. So if you want to start a car, go get a Subaru. George, I got liquidated by Adam Moore and went longer. Let's go. And that's usually what people do after you get liquidated. They try to make it back, and then they get liquidated some more. Trust me, I know. I've been liquidated many times. I've tried. You know, I've done a lot of degen stuff just for fun, and it's never fun to get liquidated. So that's why I stress to most of you guys to learn from my experiences and not make the same mistakes. Dominic says, I don't know how if you're too far along, but you should really consider an elevator in your house. Yeah. Way too late for that, and way too many old people in my house have suggested it. There's really no good spot to put one if I wanted to, so I'm not going to worry about it until later. Christian, I have no thoughts about them. Am I going to cash out most of my crypto during the 2025 bull run? No. I would definitely take profits. I think what I said still holds true. And I'm going to test in this new bull run. Basically, you know, people always ask, how do you take profit? What's the strategy? Whatever. Really, there's no strategies, whatever you feel comfortable with. But I think a really good strategy is to keep 30% in cash, no matter what. So even in a bull run, when everything is exploding, you'll see your cash pile percentage decrease, right? Because everything else is going up. So that means you need to take profit and keep that cash pile 30%. As long as you have that, I think you're golden. Because even if we find top and we start coming down, right, that 30% cash will start growing. It'll grow larger to 35, 40, 50, 60%, right? And there's no saying that in the next run afterwards, we're going to crash 78%. Maybe the next one we only go down 50%. Or maybe we don't even go down at all because Bitcoin has reached maturity and there's global adoption and now no one's selling, right? You know, no one knows. No one knows. Trends follow until they don't and break, right? So this whole notion that Bitcoin will fall down again after the next halving event, after the next peak, it makes sense because we have done it many times, but it may not be the same way. Maybe we have a prolonged super cycle so that after 2025, 2026, we're still heading upwards. You know, things could change. All right, guys, I'm going to let you guys go. Overall today, still iffy, still fearful, fear level quite high for crypto, for markets, for everything, okay? But like I said in this video, you guys got to stay strong. Wealth is made by buying low and selling high and not the inverse of that, right? So keep that in mind. And the fundamentals of Bitcoin have not changed, and you could argue that we have seen this before, and yes, we have. But even from a technical standpoint, we have seen similar cases where horrible drops happen, right? But when you zoom out, you don't realize it. You don't pay attention. But when you zoom in and you live in a moment, you realize, yeah, it has happened before and it sucks. But once we past it, you forget, right? So stay strong, my friends. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. As for the rest of today, let's see how it goes. No stream tonight, but you could check out my other content on my other channels, right? Drivers Only or my I Am George channel. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right? Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.